Normally I wouldn't show off my quarantine cages too much other than for the purpose of educational and showing people what I've done, but I had so much fun building this particular quarantine terrarium that I just kind of wanted to give a little tour, discuss what I did, and then the animal that's going in it is actually right over there in the box with the arrows, so I'm going to unpack him then as well, and you can see it. But this is a 5.5 gallon pygmy chameleon setup, and I did turn the cage on its end, so there is a little bit more height in there. I did keep most of the decorations closer to the ground though, because they do primarily live in the lower half of the terrarium, but there's some higher up options as well because they have been known to use it. But I have here the first thing, which is probably very obvious, is I have a whole plastic clothing hanger, and then that black rod here in the back is just the straight piece cut off of a black plastic coat hanger as well. And now these are not completely smooth. I didn't just take them out of the closet and throw them in there. I actually used a coarse grained sandpaper to add a bit of texture, and then I also cut a whole bunch of nicks in it using cut a whole bunch of nicks in both of them using a pocket knife to give it a bit more of a texture. I did run both of them through up and down through my very tight clenched fist just to get off any pieces of plastic that might have been hanging on and check for edges that might have accidentally become rough. But they have about as much texture as the Zoom Ed Flex Vine that's sold for chameleons and geckos. So I added the texture to help the chameleon get a good grip right after I missed the cage when they would become really slippy. Because I know my crested gecko and even my mantids would have a hard time climbing their bamboo or their non-wooden, anything that wasn't wooden. My crested gecko even has problems climbing her silk plants right after I give the cage a good mist down. So I added on that texture just to ensure a good grip even after the cage is sprayed down real well. So you can see in between the two, I have tied this. This is a, it's just 3 pieces of a woven together string. And I've actually braided these 3 pieces of string together. And as you might be able to see, it's actually a really tight braid. I made sure the braid was really tight and it was twisting as I was braiding it. And I made it nice and tight so it's going to be a good grip. It's going to be able to support quite a bit in there. It'll hold moisture since it is fabric really well. So I'm hoping this works out okay. Just trying to provide something a little thinner for him to climb on there. I got a suction cup plastic plant up here, which will provide another place for him to climb on the stems, as well as just provide a little bit more cover, especially right here in the upper portion of the coat hanger. I have another plastic plant there in the back, a really tall one that has a weighted bottom. It's made for a betta aquarium, but I've used this plant with my large praying mantis, and she loved it. It worked great for her. And the middle support stems, the longest stems there in the middle of that yellow plant, are actually textured as well with sandpaper. And then down here, like I said, I try to keep most things close to the bottom. This here is a piece of just a strip of plastic canvas. You can find this in any craft stores with the yards or like the sewing crafts. And it costs about $1 for a computer-sized sheet of it. Comes in tons of colors. But this is just bent over. It's, as you can see, it holds pretty good. Putting a good amount of weight, and it's not springing up or going anywhere. And it's just being held up because it's against the side, and then it's against the my hygrometer and thermometer over here, which are actually setting on the bottom corner of this coat hanger. So it's in there pretty good. As you might be able to see, I have another piece of plastic canvas back here. That's just a green one. And it goes halfway in behind the hide there. I just kind of threw it in there. I had it, just tossed it in there to give just another climbing area, since They need something to hook their feet around in order to climb. This here, the hide, is just a styrofoam egg holder. It's the actual egg holding portion or the bottom of the egg crate. And I made sure I didn't put it at too steep of an angle because I'm not sure how well a chameleon can climb styrofoam. I've read that they climb up foam pre-made like terrarium backgrounds just fine. And they're either really spongy or not nearly as pliable and soft depending on the type you get. So, but my leopard gecko, which is actually a ground type of dwelling gecko that cannot climb up glass or anything smooth at all. They're from the desert. They're very clumsy climbers. And this is actually so soft that she can sink her claws into it very well to get a grip in order to climb on top of styrofoam. So I think it'll be just fine. But I did perforate it with a bunch of like pinprick holes just to give a spot that's weaker to make it easier for chameleon to grip its claws in there. And the lovely thing about egg crate is you just prop it up in a corner or a side, you get this nice climbing structure on the front. You get the hide underneath, as well as the whole climbing structure on the underside of the egg crate as well. I don't know how this is gonna come through on the camera, but nice climbing structure. You can kind of sit in one of the little egg cups or whatever. I have 2 pieces of crumpled paper towel in here, one right underneath the actual hide just to create some cover in the lower, along the lower half of that hide. And there's one in the back as well. This will provide like a ground cover right at ground level. They can go underneath and hide on it or crawl on the folds of it. It's also extra paper towel to hold the humidity better. And it's some cushioning as well. This here's just a bottle cap that I'm going to put a little bit of dechlorinated water in, because even though chameleons, like crested geckos, they just drink the water droplets off the side of the glass, I have found that keeping just a small shallow dish of water in my humid terrariums helps keep the humidity stable. It keeps it from, you know, lows and spikes so much. It just it keeps it more steady. So I'm going to use that just so there's a little extra. But I did, like I said, I'm not sure how well a chameleon can climb all this stuff. It's my first chameleon. It's a very small species, the easiest species. They're only going to get about 3 inches big. So this is actually the minimum size enclosure for a single adult, depending on the care sheet you read. Honestly, I won't lie. So this will be the tank that he is going to be living in. But this is, again, remember, this is a quarantine setup. The design and everything in it is not permanent. Everything in it is designed to be either very easily sanitized by soaking in a bleach water solution that's weak, or it's something that I simply just don't mind throwing out because I would have thrown it out already, or it's really, really cheap to pick up at a dollar store or a Walmart. So this setup's only for a few months, but I try to keep everything pretty low to the ground since they're going to mostly live in the lower half. I try to make sure there's texture, try to make sure there's nothing really hard on the bottom in case of a fall, anything, you know, too hard or stiff that could cause an injury, that if they fall, it's either not going to be far, they're going to catch on something soft like the styrofoam or the plant and be able to catch himself from falling, or the crumpled paper towel even there in the back or whatever. And I'm willing to edit this and whatnot as I go along. The light that you're seeing coming through the cage is from there. That's just like a viewing light that I use on some of my cages. It's not for heat or anything like that. This species will live at my room temperature because my entire house is heated to about 75 degrees all the time, summer or winter. So I keep everything in a comfortable area for like my crested gecko and a bunch of my other reptiles. I have a thermometer you may have seen. This was already on the cage. It's not my primary primary thermometer. I have another one sitting on top of the cage here that I can use, but this decent thermometer and the one on the cage are stuck to the side of the cage are actually reading the exact same temperature. So it's pretty accurate, but that's not my main source. I have thermometers all throughout my house, and the heating and cooling is actually attached to a thermometer control as well within my house to make sure that house is not going to drop too cold or too hot for my animal unless of case of a power failure or a mechanical failure, something like that. But I keep cold packs, heat packs, and all of that on hand in case of an emergency situation. So what we're going to do, oh, that's right, one more thing. There's my screen. It's down here. It's just a regular screen. I have two C-hooks, two C-hook clamps that hold the door on since I turned the cage this way. And then I also have this down here. This is a piece of cardboard box that's spread out that actually will stand up alongside of the cage, and I can wrap it around two sides of the cage, usually probably this side and the back, in order just to so that the chameleon couldn't see anything. In case he, you know, seems like he's getting really stressed out, I can put that barrier up to make him feel more comfortable. This here on the back is a piece of tissue paper that goes along the back. And that's just to, again, it's to give one side that is a little bit more covered to make the chameleon feel a little bit more secure. But it also is going to, since it's thin, I use something thin, it's going to filter the light from the lamp over here so that they're going to get some light, because during the day in the early morning, we do get some filtered light from the window, which is across the room. Sometimes the blinds get open during the day on weekends and stuff. So I still want some natural sunlight to come through the cage for just to supply some natural UV radiation light, even though this species does not require UV light. I try to provide at least, you know, an hour of natural diffuse, not direct, sunlight a day to my reptiles so that they have that option to bask in the natural light and get some UV radiation if they want it. But the back of my cardboard piece will cover that if it becomes an issue. But it's going to cover it too from turning on the lamp at night when we're coming in. So what we're going to do first is I have my spray bottle. This is just a typical garden sprayer. I've already pre-pumped it. I love it. It has made my life so much easier. So I'm actually going to go down. We're going to spray this down real good. You can see this is actually a really fine mist that it creates. It's awesome. Absolutely love the sprayer. But yeah, we're going to spray this down real good. I'm going to make sure I get the paper towels real wet here in the back, and get the ground paper towel real wet. Just make sure I get a lot of humidity in there. This is the first spray down. It's the first spray down ever of this, so. I just want to make sure I get a lot of humidity in there just to start her off until I figure out how much spraying I'm going to need, but probably about, going to need about 2 days worth of spraying. I'll spray some in the bowl here. Just a little water dish. So there's some water in the water dish. Make sure both of these paper towels are pretty wet. Yeah, that one, I got the back one real good. But yeah, just making sure there's plenty of humidity all up in there. But alright, now we want to unpack the little fella. It's right here in the box. I have already cut open the box. I did not peek inside of it though, I promise. I just cut it open. I did not lift this off. Feels like there is a full styrofoam in here on all four sides, the bottom and the top as well. This came through FedEx, overnight shipping, so I actually paid more for the shipping and all the styrofoam than I did the animal itself. I'm not kidding. But this is from LL Reptile in California. I have bought supplies from LL Reptile before, and everything was excellent, and I actually placed a call out to the shop and talked to one of the employees before placing this order even. And they were very nice and very helpful, and, you know, everything got here. The package came so far. Good. So I'm hoping this is my first livestock order. I'm hoping everything goes well. So we're going to take off this. I apparently have instructions. Please read before unpacking your order. Instructions for unpacking your reptile and shipment. Look at that. That's kind of cute. Do not throw them out or freeze them. Your animal appears dead. Instructions below. In case you'll just find and recover in a few hours. You cannot tell the difference between a recently deceased reptile and extremely cold. During winter months. Don't put your reptiles under direct heat, of course. And do not feed immediately. That's very important. Some people do that. They do feed their new animals immediately. I always give all of my animals betas, insects. Well, okay, with the exception of like my millipedes and stuff, because they come with food. But my reptiles, my fish, and amphibians and all that, I do not feed them for the first 24 hours, just to give time for their stomach to settle. And for them to settle in, because immediate feeding could stress them or make them regurgitate, since their stomach could be a little all over the place. Got this little green thing. I got a this is amusing, LL Reptile feeder menu of what you can buy, how much, how you can ship them, all that. So that's kind of cool, but I can see it online. But I got a bunch of styrofoam peanuts in here, which is interesting. I've never had this before. I'm used to my animals, because I mostly buy invertebrates, just coming wrapped in newspaper with tons of newspaper in here and all that. So, I'm just going to dig through here to see a blue lid in the bottom that I'm assuming is him. Wow, he's actually in a dark container. I was not expecting that. And as you can see, it says male, pygmy, which I requested a male, just because I have a name picked out. So let's go ahead and unpack this little guy. Put that before, I can hopefully get a good look of him. As you can see, really help them from being, not getting too stressed being in this container. I don't see any heat packs or anything. I guess they didn't decide they needed one. So we're going to open this. I'm trying to do this with one hand. This usually doesn't work out too well, by the way. Definitely a male. He looks okay. Definitely a little dry in here, though. It's got some little shredded paper in there to keep him moist, and paper towel. Oh, he's sleeping. Oh, I seen the eye move. I'm gonna come awake, little guy. Some really cool colors going on. Usually these guys are really light tan to very dark brown. But you can see his head here is actually, I was gonna hope you can see he's turning white. And his lower half is really, upper half is really light in color, kind of greenish, almost kind of mossy color. And then his limbs are pretty dark. Freaking love him. Let's see if we can get him out. You see your little hand there. Gonna let me get you out? I'm trying to be very careful. These guys have really delicate legs and all. He's like, no, I'm comfy. But that's him. I'm going to get some pictures of him and stuff before I put him away. So hope I can get him to walk for you, but I'm going to hold on a bit maybe and get him out, because he's teeny though. Hold on. Oh, there's your little paw. Alright, there's one. Can I get the rest of your feetsies? Oh, can I get the rest of your feetsies? Come on. Okay, we're doing good here. Okay, can I get your bite legs? Yeah, there we go. Alright, come in. Okay, and one more foot. There, one more foot. Yay. Okay, so I got him out. My camera's so not focusing well at all. Sorry. There we go. He's awake now. Let's see just how tiny, just how little he is. He's not quite full grown. Not quite anyway. Sorry, my camera keeps defocusing. Wants to focus on everything else but him, huh? But yeah, he's not quite full grown. But alright, YouTube, that's it.